extensive audit of the votes. Mr. Ghani came out ahead in preliminary results from the second round, but both candidates alleged there were frauds committed during the elections. Announcement was welcomed by Mr. Kerry, who arrived there in Afghanistan today in a hastily arranged visit.
I'll just say very quickly that it's a pleasure to meet with Dr. Ghani again. We know each other well. We've had many discussions through the years. And I'm here because President Obama and the United States of America are deeply interested in a unified, democratic, and stable Afghanistan. We obviously have high hopes that the questions about the election will be resolved quickly, can be resolved, and that a way forward can take place which can give Afghans confidence that they have a presidency and a government that is capable of unifying all Afghans and building the road to the future. So that's why I'm here, and we're going to have a lot to talk about.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, who is in Kabul, he will be talking to the two political aspirants in Afghanistan. We'll take a break now. When we come back, of course, the situation in Ukraine comes up, and then health crisis here in Africa as the death toll rises in the Ebola virus outbreak. Welcome back. Who just joined us, you're watching The World Today. Now, there's been fresh fighting in eastern Ukraine, where pro-Russian separatists have launched an assault of Grad rockets at Ukrainian troops in Luhansk, killing as many as 30 people. Russian Grad rockets are classified as heavy artillery weapons fired in batches from trucks. Unconfirmed reports put the Ukrainian death toll as high as 30, with dozens more wounded near another village in the area in eastern Ukraine. Last night, rebels also shelled Ukrainian troops at Donetsk airport. The rebels have regrouped in Donetsk as the Ukrainian military has retaken territory in the country's east. The rebels have not yet broken through to the airport.
Separatists man a checkpoint outside the eastern Ukrainian city of Donetsk. A billboard says, "We need peace," but they are not giving up the fight.
We are defending our motherland, and we don't want some Western people to come here and rule over us. We just won't simply allow this. There are a lot of miners here, a lot of builders and ordinary people.
After the Ukrainian military pushed the rebels out of their stronghold in Slavyansk last week, they are now trying to hold ground in Donetsk, a city of nearly 1 million people. They are moving forces closer to the city, setting up a new checkpoint. The hope is to cut off weapon and ammunition supplies to pro-Russian separatists. They are setting up tents and digging trenches, and they are also testing military vehicles as they hope fighting is entering the final stage.
I am ready to fight till the end along with my friends. In order for all of this to come to an end as soon as possible, I want my nephews to be able to walk through this land without trouble.
The Ukrainian military says it has a plan to deliver a nasty surprise to separatists dug in Donetsk. In a phone call, Ukraine's President Petro Poroshenko told the Vice President of the United States that separatists have refused multiple offers to negotiate a ceasefire.
Now, Germany has defended its decision to expel a top CIA official in Berlin, saying that the move was a fitting reaction to the breach of trust by the United States. The German government has also called for honest security cooperation with the U.S. German Foreign Minister Frank-Walter Steinmeier said this while speaking about 2 cases of alleged spying by the United States, which prompted yesterday's expulsion order. He plans to discuss the spy allegations with U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry. His talks with Mr. Kerry will take place in Vienna this weekend on the sidelines of a meeting focused on Iran's controversial nuclear program. There's been another horrific tale of sexual violence against women in India. Police say a teenage girl in the eastern state of Jharkhand has been raped in apparent revenge for an alleged assault on another woman. 3 people were arrested, including a village head who is accused of approving the alleged crime. The 14-year-old girl was allegedly raped this week after her brother was accused of assaulting a woman. Violence against women remains deeply entrenched, while calls to address them has grown in the recent years. Our scrutiny of sexual violence in India has grown since a 2012 gang rape and murder of a student on a Delhi bus. The government tightened laws on sexual violence last year after widespread protests following that attack. Let's turn to Africa. Now, the European Union is imposing sanctions on 2 South Sudanese military leaders accused of obstructing the country's peace process. In a statement, the EU says that it's also responsible, or they're responsible for atrocities committed in the last 6 months. They are Peter Gadet, a South Sudanese rebel leader who commanded an ethnic militia that massacred more than 200 civilians in April, and Santino Deng, a commander of the 3rd Infantry Division of the government army. Thousands of people had died in the fighting that erupted between different factions of South Sudan's ruling party. More than 1 million people have fled their homes as a political dispute between President Salva Kiir and his former deputy Riek Machar escalated into ethnic violence. And the World Health Organization says Ebola virus has continued to spread in Sierra Leone, in Liberia, and to a lesser extent in Guinea, with a combined 44 new cases and 21 deaths recorded between July 6th and 8th. And this brings in the total in West Africa's first outbreak of the deadly viral disease to 888 cases, including 539 deaths since February. Meanwhile, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, set up an Ebola Solidarity Fund at a summit in the capital of Ghana yesterday in a bid to back a regional approach to the epidemic. Nigeria committed at that meeting $3.5 million to affected states.
I wish to call for the contribution of urgently needed resources to speed up the containment effort. We must scale up our efforts and power to defeat this deadly disease. We must exercise vigilance and caution and avoid any panic or misinformation. I also wish to challenge the national and regional medical research institutions to intensify efforts aimed at finding a cure or vaccines for diseases such as Ebola.
The United Nations is deeply concerned about the persisting insecurity in northeastern Nigeria as a result of Boko Haram terrorist activities and the violence against innocent civilian population, with the attendant violation of human rights and dire humanitarian consequences. I wish to reiterate our solidarity with the people and government of Nigeria. We welcome the support of ECOWAS to the counter-terrorism efforts of the government of Nigeria, reflecting the solidarity of the countries of the region and their legitimate concern about the spread of violent extremism.
Well, over 200 Ghanaian World Cup fans have asked for asylum in Brazil, but the Ghanaian government is not pleased with this move, especially as the fans said they were Muslims fleeing religious conflicts in the country. Ghana's government has vehemently denied this, saying the country does not suffer from religious violence. Fans seeking asylum are believed to be part of a government-sponsored delegation, mainly comprising supporters of the governing party. They filed their applications in the southern city of Caias do Sul, in one of Brazil's most prosperous areas. The Brazilian authorities believe that many of the Ghanaians are looking for the right to work legally in the country, not particularly fleeing a religious conflict in their own. Ghana, meanwhile, is seen as one of Africa's most peaceful and prosperous countries. World Cup fever is still on, even though it's building up to the closing ceremonies on Sunday. But pets are not left out of the celebrations. The type